Oh, we
We're
live.
live, brother.
We are live. What is up, brother? How's
What
it
is
going,
going on, my friend?
everyone? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, great. What does apocalypse mean? It means like the reveal, right? Like
That it does.
revelation. So I think from now on, I'm going to just start it off by saying, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the apocalypse, because we are in the age of the apocalypse where everything that has been done to us is being revealed. What do you think about that, Gray?
I like it. I like it. It sounds
You
good. It's
like
catchy,
that?
man. It's catchy.
Oh,
I
awesome,
like
man.
that. I'm gonna switch over here to the comment section so I
Let's
can
see.
keep an
Okay,
eye
I'm,
on
I'm
things.
moving my stuff around so that I can at least see what's going on here. All right.
Oh, I'm in the wrong comment section. There we go.
We're not even ready, man.
No, we're never ready. But we don't want to be that clean cut,
Nope,
dry show. You know what I mean? We want to
absolutely
just
not.
off the cuff, just like we're on the phone, man, just talking it up, man. Well, I guess I'm going to say hello to a few folks, and if you want to
Yeah,
chime in
yeah.
and say hello to a few people as well, mods make us behave. Agreed, Nostradamus. That is true. But I see Coffee first in the house. Dobby Farrar, A Hobbit, Joyce Terra. Who else do we got? Pony Girl, Rocky Mountain Prepping, Rebecca Snabley. And if I butchers anybody's names, my apologies. AP's in the house. Alien Prepper, what is up?
Another AP. All right.
We got Patricia's in the house as well. Who do else then? We got Michelle. Oh, look, there's you got it. I see what you're doing, Rudy. I got you there. Jan, JT, who else do we got in here? Yarn Prepper, Mark, Sharon, K. Paul, D's Crast, Trucker, My Prepper's Journey, Doggone It, D. Kilner, D. Kilner Skull. There we go. Sue, good to see you as well. Andrew's in the house. Let me see who else. Linda Bop, Michelle, Brent. You see his sweetie. And I'm going to scroll all the way back down. And Sherry, good to see you. Sunset Gazing. Don't forget about me, Gray Man. I didn't, Andrew. I always like to say what's up to you, brother. Disney Up, Boiler Up, Bonnie Bethel. But thank you all for joining myself and Rudy on tonight's episode 3 of the show. So far, I think we've been having a lot of fun with it. I do. I like it.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
I think it's a blast.
Move this
You
over
know,
here. Stay out of
whoever
my
came up
way.
with this idea is a genius.
Yeah, somebody out there is just mind blown, man. Mind blown. All right, man. So we got a few topics to discuss tonight. You probably looked at the title where we're talking about cyber attacks and bank failures, but we're just not going to talk about that. We got a few other things to talk about as well. We're going to get into some things. And me personally, whenever we do it on my thing, I love to talk about food. So we're always going to throw the food thing in there as well, because
Absolutely.
what's prepping without food, man? You know?
Absolutely.
All right. So let's move in. We'll start off. We'll kind of go in order. We'll go in order. We'll start off. You want to say anything to anybody else before we get going and jibber jabbering?
No, just welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining in. I mean, this is pretty awesome that you're all coming back to take off with the apocalypse. All right, the apocalypse. For those of you that didn't hear that, we are in the apocalypse. No, in all honesty, one of the things about food, Gray Man, one of the things that I think that a lot of prepper channels emphasize on food is because it's universal, right? It's universal, and it's something that everyone can talk about across cultures. If you live in a different country, it doesn't matter. Everybody has to eat. So yeah, food is a great way to plant a seed in a family member or a friend who's not really into prepping. Just ask them, hey, but how much food do you keep in your house? Because I was listening to some crazy guys on YouTube saying, hey, what happens if you run out of food because the supermarket's closed down or whatever? So I was wondering, how much do you keep? Great way to plant a seed and start a conversation.
I agree, man. It's something that I talk about a lot on my channel. You talk about your channel. I have just general conversations about it all the time, brother. General conversations about it all the time. And if you guys haven't had a chance to hit that thumbs up button, we truly appreciate that. It does help the algo. Anyways, let's move on to our first topic, and we're going to be talking about the cyber attacks that Australia was hit by, man. So to me, it's quite interesting because it's happened to the United States. It's kind of happened globally, but specifically in this article, wherever it is, let's see where it's at, Birdie. What did you do with it? There it is.
I mean, even if it doesn't come up, I already looked at it. So yeah, and this well, I mean, great. they've already told us. And whenever I say they, ladies and gentlemen, when I say they, I mean those people that want to be our rulers and that think
Mhm.
we are our rulers. And I think that we can all agree that there is a certain group of people, not only in the U.S. but around the world, that think that they should dictate to us, the plebes, how we should live our lives.
Yeah.
So they've told us already. I mean, what is it, Operation Polygon or something like that?
Yes,
Which is
sir.
a so they've already told us what's going to happen. What's his name there? That bald-headed Klaus guy, Klaus.
Yeah.
He's a good name.
Schwab.
Yeah,
Schwab.
Schwab. So that guy's already told us, pretty much that hey, the next health crisis, per se, is going to be a cyber attack. It's going to be a big cyber attack. And when you think about it, it's the great play on their side, right? It's a great way to play it because how many people really are prepared for going, a month without having to go to the store, for heating their homes if there's no electricity? How many people are really prepared? And many people may think that if the internet goes down, that, well, it's not going to affect my electricity. It's not going to affect my water. It's going to affect everything. It will affect everything. If the internet goes down, in my opinion, it will be just as bad or probably worse, to tell you the truth, than if just the electricity went down. Because if the internet goes down, eventually your electrical grid will go down as well. So let's say that it was just the electric grid that goes down. Well, you can revert to using some cash. You should have
Mhm.
some cash stowed away at home for emergency. So if the electric grid goes down, I've already checked with my gas station down the road and I asked them, what would you do if the electric grid goes down as far as payment? They're like, well, we would take cash. We would take cash. So have some cash. They have a generator that they can power their station with for so long. So you would have a little bit of cash and a little bit of time to go and get some last minute preps if you decide to do so. However, if the internet goes down, ladies and gentlemen, how is anyone at all going to accept payment in any kind of way, right? That's number one. Number two is the grid will also go down. Why? Because the grid is controlled per the internet. There are
Right.
parts of the grid that's controlled by the internet. So that's going to go down. Communication will go down. Most of our communication is controlled by the internet. And I mean, there's so many other things that will go down. Every time that you go shopping and you buy a can of Campbell's soup, every time that something is scanned by the computer, it tells the mother computer, it tells them, hey, this guy just bought a can of Campbell's soup, so now we have to bring our inventory down by one. Well, every so often, when that inventory gets down to a certain level, this is the just-in-time system I'm talking about, it automatically does an order to the company that sells that product to send you another case or two or whatever it may be. That's not going to work. So if the internet went down, they're going to be able to put us in a position where eventually the majority of the people are going to be begging for the government to come in and help them and find a solution to all of the problems that will be ailing society without internet. I think, Gray, that most people don't understand what a big deal the internet is nowadays, and they can shut it down anytime they want.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'm gonna throw this up here, but yeah, that was something that was discussed. What was the date on that one? Just not too long ago. Solar superstorm could wipe out the internet for weeks or months, scientists say. It's
Yeah,
funny that
I
you
mean,
mentioned that.
it's true. Yeah, absolutely. And it would only take weeks, I think, for people to go ahead and bring it down to the basic level, meaning that they'll turn into animals. I remember I talked about this on a video of mine. I think it was, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago. But when I was in the military, I had a soldier who lived in Florida during Hurricane Andrew. Remember that, Gray?
Mhm.
That was back like 92, I
Yeah, that
think
was
that
a
was.
that was devastating to those folks down
Yeah,
south.
and she lived in Miami. She said that by the second evening after they lost electricity, that there was full-blown rioting in the street. By the
I
second
believe it. Yeah.
evening. And what people don't understand is this. Most people would think, well, if we lose electricity, how is it that by the second evening or the second night, people are rioting? Don't they have 3 days worth of food or a week's worth of food? Probably, but we are forgetting about the criminal element.
Yeah.
Light is not good for criminals. They like the dark much better because they can get away with stuff in the dark much better. So just think about not having light for 1 or 2 days, how the criminal element is going to use that to their advantage. So, I mean, we can get into so many things. It's just being prepared in all of the ways that you possibly can. Because I believe, and look, ladies and gentlemen, I hope, and I'm sure that Grey feels the same way that I feel in this respect. I hope to God that none of this stuff ever happens. But
Yes.
but we are in the middle of a cycle. We are in the middle of a cycle that will lead us into a new era in time. And when I say a new era in time, I mean it. I was talking to my wife here a few days ago, and I told her, I says, listen, in our lifetime, if you're in my cohort, like in your 40s or 50s, in our lifetime, I believe that these United States of America will end up being called by a different name. Now, I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know what's going to occur to make that happen. All I know is that cycles throughout the history of mankind have not lied. They've always not 100% repeated themselves, but they've often, come as close as you can come to repeating themselves. There's a cycle for everything. So all you have to do is just stay as prepared as possible. And those people that think that you're crazy for preparing, then just don't pay them any mind, ladies and gentlemen, and continue to do what you know that you need to do, because something's going to happen eventually. And whatever does happen, we are in the era of crisis right now. All right. We are in the cycle of crisis, the fourth turning. Whenever something does happen, even if it's not man-made, let's say it's 100% natural, the government will be there in order to get as much out of it as they can. So they say, what is it? Never let it. They're not going to let any kind of a crisis go to waste, be it man-made or be it natural. And I just want someone to put up here. I remember. let's go ahead and answer this, because I have a great segue on this one, Grey. And ladies and gentlemen, Grey told me in the beginning of this, yeah, we have X number of things to go over. And I said, that's if we even get over the first one or two. If the internet goes down, how will the CBDC then work? Internet is used for everything. If the internet goes down, the CBDC won't work, ladies and gentlemen. But I believe that it is the internet going down, or us having a financial crash, or the electricity going down for several weeks, if not months, that will in turn make the government introduce to we the people a CBDC. All right. So I don't think they plan on introducing a CBDC and then having the internet go down. I think that they plan on having us go through whatever crisis has been planned already, and then introducing to us the CBDC. Okay. And great, real quick, I was watching a video and I forget the name. I think his name is Roy Jones. He's like one of the few congressmen that's like a patriot that loves his country. And he was talking to, I forgot his name, Adler or something like that. He's a chubby guy. He's a Democrat, but I forgot his name. But anyways, they were talking about the Second Amendment. Okay. And what I'm coming back around to here is when people tell me, AP, how can you say that this was planned? Right. Okay. So Nadler, something Nadler. All right.
What's the name Nadler. Of the, yeah, Nadler. Yeah.
A huge anti-Second Amendment guy. Right. So they were talking about the Second Amendment, and Roy Jones, I think it's Roy Jones' name. But he was telling Nadler, he was like, hey, the Second Amendment is not for hunting. It's not for sportsmanship. The Second Amendment is so that you can protect yourself and your family and your property, and more so that you can protect yourself, your family, and your property against a government that may become tyrant in the future, because it's happened throughout history. And Nadler says, are you saying that the people would fight the government? And Roy, Mr. Jones, I think is his last name. Forgive me if I'm getting it wrong. And he says, man, it's happened throughout history. That's why it was put in there. Now, when people say that, AAP, how can you say that that was planned? All I say is this, ladies and gentlemen, look up Operation Northwood. Grey, I'm pretty sure that you know what Operation Northwood is, right?
That I do.
So people that say that things are never planned, that they just happen by happenstance. This health crisis that we just got over, it just happened by happenstance. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, now they're discovering that maybe it wasn't by happenstance, that maybe it wasn't a bat who pooped on some salad somewhere in China or wherever it was. That maybe it was, maybe it did happen because it got out of some facility, in the big C country, a facility that maybe other countries outside of their borders helped to fund, right, ladies and gentlemen? So now we're starting to find this stuff out little by little, right? But if you take a look at Operation Northwood, that is an operation that was brought to President Kennedy back in the 60s. And it was an operation in which our three-letter agencies openly said, hey, let's go ahead and do these acts of T, the T word that that YouTube doesn't like you to say. Let's go ahead and commit these acts of T and say that the Cubans did it. Let's go ahead and take out a passenger, an airline passenger, a big plane. Let's take out a big plane full of college students and say that the Cubans did it so that we can go to war with Cuba. So those of you that are naive enough, I'm sorry if I'm hitting you hard, but if you are naive enough to think that bad things are not planned by those people that think that they are our rulers, then you better prepare even more than a prepper is preparing, because you're definitely going to need it.
Folks, I just want to make I saw some person write something about commercials. I set the setting for max one commercial throughout the thing, which was unless I didn't do it right, I put just one. So hopefully, I don't know if it means one per person or just one in general throughout the live stream. So hopefully I get that resolved. If not, I will just take them all off if there's a way.
Well, you know what, Grey? Let me jump in on that so that people can understand. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where supporting your channels comes from. This is where it comes, right? So let me explain to you why it's kind of important. Like, I usually take them all off my live streams, but if you went on my live stream, you'd see that my live streams don't really have a lot of people in them, because a lot of people don't get notified until way after the live stream is over.
Yeah.
So YouTube, just like creators, all right, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I hate making money on YouTube. Come on, come on, man. Right? So YouTube, they want to make money, and they make money if you allow one of those commercials to go like 15 seconds at least before you hit skip. All right. And then if they're seeing that that's happening, they will go ahead and notify more people and promote that video or that live stream even more. So if you want to support your creators, go ahead and voluntarily donate 15 to 30 seconds of your time by letting a short ad run through. That goes a lot longer than what people think. And I was just watching MD Creekmore here earlier this afternoon, and great, listen to this. You're gonna laugh at this, man. He was saying that someone got on him in the comments saying that that he knows why he does YouTube, because for every view that he gets $1. I was like, man, that would be so awesome if we got $1 for every view that we got with a commercial or an ad in it. But anyways, I think I did the math once, and it depends on your specific channel, but I think mine came out to like 0.008 cents per view. So like 1/1000th of a penny or something like that per view. But ladies and gentlemen, what counts is this, is that many hands make little work. And those 0.008s, they do add up over time. So support your creators by doing something that doesn't cost you any money, but 15, 30 seconds of your time. And that was it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like I said, it's, I figure you have to get to a certain spot in YouTube to make money. That's why I like to do the reviews, because the reviews, I get gear that I don't have to pay for. That's
Absolutely.
my little additional benefit for doing YouTube and being approachable, I guess, by the generalized public and whatnot. But yeah, it's to me, it's pennies on the dollar. I don't know how I guess the main thing is you get a lot of viewers out there, and they see these things and they just don't comprehend how the back end of YouTube works until you start doing YouTube. And once you start doing YouTube, you're like, man, I don't know what anybody's talking about. Because that's what I thought when I first saw YouTube. I was like, oh, these guys are making millions of dollars. I'm assuming some are, but most aren't.
Some definitely are. Yeah, and that was, you know what's funny, Grey? I was I told you earlier that my wife and I are redoing a kitchen, because when I first built the house, we were broke and we just did exactly what we needed to get by. Right? And I'm looking at the room that we're going to use to redo our kitchen. We're kind of like moving, and I'm like, man, I wish I was like some people say that I was a millionaire, because I sure as heck wouldn't be doing this work myself.
Agree. I mean, think about it. We're both one man shows. We use our phones to record our videos, and it's crazy. It's I wish I had a production crew and a studio, this and all this crazy stuff like that. It would be nice, but
Yeah, but
it's
it's all good, man. This is who we are. This is who
yeah.
we are. So I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to
I
change it for
agree.
anything.
That's what my wife always says. She just says, like, man, just do you. If people say this, you talk too much, you say this word too much, whatever. She's like, just ignore it, man. Just ignore it and move on, man. The people that want to watch you are going to watch you, and the people that don't. You know what I mean? So I agree. All right. So before we get keep on going down you Jeep a cameraman. Yeah, little boy Wes. Oh man. Anyways, so let's bring up the other one that we wanted to bring in before we get into some of the other nitty-gritty stuff. But
Sure.
so this happened, and I wanted to show you guys this because it's something that's been happening a lot, and people don't feel like it's happening in like a lot. Like, oh, America's still fine just because this bank closes and then that bank closes. But I know you have a different take on this, Rudy, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring this up. In regards to Citizens Bank closing, I think it was November 3rd, this bank got shut down. And believe it or not, if you read into it, most of the people associated with the bank, the patrons themselves, weren't notified until after the fact.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. If you
Well,
look into
the thing is that, look, ladies and gentlemen, America is broke. The American people are broke, for the most part. The American government is definitely broke. The Treasury has, like, I think, a negative balance or something like that. The Federal Reserve has a negative balance right now, ladies and gentlemen, as far as cash goes. So America is broke. America is pretty much bankrupt. I was talking to Grey here, I don't know, about a week ago about this. And people, when they take a look at America's finances, the United States, I mean by America, not the continent, but when they took a look at our finances, all they look is at the national debt. $33.7 trillion. That's all they look at. But they don't really look at the other things that really matter a lot. Like, for example, we have about 600 or so trillion dollars in derivatives, which are like bets, right? And how's that going to be paid off? How is that 600 and some trillion dollars in derivative ever going to be paid off when our M2 money supply, meaning that the money that we have in the system that we can use, only accounts for about 20 trillion? How in the world are we going to pay off the $211 trillion of unfunded liability when we continuously take out deficit spending or borrow in order to be able to do the things that the government wants to do on top of what we collect in taxes? We're never going to be able to pay all of this off. We are going to have to pay the piper sooner or later. Mathematics does not care who you are. They don't care if you're diverse. They don't care where you live. They don't care what color you are. Mathematics is going to get you one way or another, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
So the best thing that you can do is to get and stay prepared. I mean, I'm telling you, these times that we're living in now, there are going to be times where 30 years from now, if we're still alive, right? I'm sure many of us will still be alive. These are times that we're going to be talking about. Remember when? And yes, we made it through that. These are times we're going to be talking about, but only those that are prepared, all right, that can see what's coming, that can actually listen to someone and not necessarily take their word for it, but go do your own research. Like, for example, right now I gave you a few numbers. I don't want you to believe me. Go to the national debt clock. All of the information there is gotten from the Federal Reserve, and go see that we are $33.7 trillion in debt nationally. All right, and go and take a look and see that we are $211 trillion as far as unfunded liabilities. And for those of you that don't know what unfunded liabilities are, it's like Social Security. They're future payments that the government has promised to the American people that it has not funded yet. That's what that is, ladies and gentlemen. And as far as the derivatives, almost a quadrillion dollars, more than half of a quadrillion dollars in derivatives. And it's funny, Grey, that I'm saying the word quadrillion, because 50 years ago, back in the early 70s, we hadn't even gotten up to $1 billion in our national debt 50 years ago. And now we're talking about trillions. We're talking about that by 2033, we're going to be over $50 trillion in debt. And what do you think that's going to do to the taxes so that we can pay the interest on that debt. It's enslavement at a grander scale than what it is now. That's why they need to bring the CBDC in. That's why they have to have a crisis. That's why they have to have perpetual war, because we're in a debt-based system. That's why they have to bring in the CBDC, because if not, ladies and gentlemen, they will lose their power. Understand this, that as soon as a government loses its fiat currency, as soon as it loses the ability to control the fiat currency that its country uses, it will lose its ability to control the people. When a government uses fiat currency, it is the government that has the control. It has the power. However, when a government is forced to use real money, gold and silver, commodities, right? It is the people that have the power, because the government can't just print money out of thin air, because it can't print gold, it can't print silver. Therefore, we the people will have the power, just like God intended it to be, by leaving us gold and silver in the ground so that we can labor for it and make it into what it is, real money.
Roger that, brother. I saw, what did I see? I saw something that kind of grabbed my attention. Folks, some of the topics that we'll discuss on here this week and every other week, or every week that we discuss, I would suggest you folks, if you're interested, do some research online or, locally or whatnot, to get more information in regards to some of these bank closures and some of the things that we're discussing outside of just the material that we're going over here on the live stream. I hope everybody out there gets better informed. We're just kind of touching on some of the headlines and things that are happening around the globe here in the U.S. and abroad, and trying to make people aware in regards to some of these issues, so that people are more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know what, Gray? I'm sorry, man. Another thing about these bank closures is that it's going to keep happening more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I think in the U.S., don't quote me on this, but I think it's in the 4,000 range number of banks that we have in the U.S. It's like 4,000 and change. Okay. Now, what do you think gives the Federal Reserve more control? More banks or less banks?
Less banks.
Yeah, absolutely. And every time that banks close, what happens to their liabilities and or assets? Do you know?
No, go ahead. Enlighten me, brother.
They get transferred to another bank. That other bank buys it, just like I think it was Silicon Savings Bank or Silicon's Bank or whatever it was up in California.
Chase bought one of them or a couple of them.
JP Morgan. JP Morgan bought their assets and liabilities, and they made a nice penny. They actually borrowed the money from the federal government, I believe. I think that's how it went. And they bought it. So they bought that with our money. They bought that bank with our money. So we get all of these banks that are closing down, and these big banks, the ones that, in my opinion, are the ones that really cause the problems, right? Because these big banks are actually the banks that own the Federal Reserve. Many people are like, who owns the Federal Reserve? Well, take a look at the really big banks. Those are the banks that own the Federal Reserve. They're the ones that actually print the most money because they loan out the most money. All right. So all of these banks, I think the end goal is to have just a few, maybe a dozen or so huge banks in the US, much easier to control the banking system with a dozen banks, let's say, than it is with 4,000. So, for example, let's say that we don't end up having a CBDC, but we only have, let's say, a dozen huge banks. Isn't it a lot easier to control that dozen huge banks and tell them, hey, listen, if these people aren't adhering with a good social credit score and being really good boys and girls, then make sure you don't give them a loan. Make sure that if somebody has cryptocurrencies in their portfolio, that you go ahead and don't give them a loan. Make sure that if someone's been caught buying gold and silver, that you don't give them a loan. A lot easier to enforce those rules that maybe aren't law and aren't regulations per se, but unspoken rules with a dozen banks than it is with 4,000, 5,000 banks. So I don't know. That's just me speculating as to why so many banks are closing. Obviously, they're broke. They bought a whole bunch of debt early on. I mean, in the last decade or so, they loaded up with a whole bunch of debt, right? They bought a whole bunch of treasuries and stuff, for 0%. And now they're holding on to that stuff and they can't get rid of it because now they're getting treasuries at 5-6%. So they can't get rid of it. So they're going broke, ladies and gentlemen, right? And they're going to continue to fail, and bigger banks are going to continue to suck them up. And I mean, that's just what I see happening.
This question is how do you avoid CBDC when you get government or military recruitment or retirement benefits?
You don't. You don't, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why. That's exactly why, right? Like for example, if we as a nation, if we as a people said no, we're not going to do it, no matter what it costs me, then we would be very strong together. But when we have something to lose, right, because we don't have something else to replace it with, it's very difficult for us to vote the other way. Guarantee you right now, I would say that 90% or more of the people who are receiving some kind of a federal, retirement or so, if it came up to a vote that said you either go on a CBDC or all federal retirement, Social Security, etc., is gone, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to vote yes. Why? Because we are not, most of us, and then it's not the fault of the people. Understand this. It is the system by which we have been governed our entire lives. All right. Most of us are not in the position to be able to say no. Most of us are not in a position where you can take care of yourselves and your needs for 6 months to a year. Right? If most of us were, then most of us wouldn't have taken the juicy juice here 2.5, 3 years ago and wouldn't have done whatever it took to do, even though you didn't feel good about it, just so that you can keep your job. That's just the honest truth. And if you think that that's not the truth, just really take a look back at the last 2 or 3 years and take a look at what people had to do just to be able to put food on the table, ladies and gentlemen.
Speaking of food, you're making me think of I wonder if I can load it up via here. Some folks may have seen this this clip. I'm going to play it. And you might have seen it. I know I might have seen it a while back, but I wanted to share this clip. So, because a lot of folks will be like, well, aren't these guys are always talking about this stuff? I'm like, it's actually a lot bigger than a lot of people think. But these are farmers, I think. I found this in my little storage. Let me see. Add to stage. Let's go ahead and play this.
Farming operation, and for many farmers across the country.
Let me start that over.
My own farming operation, and for many farmers across the country. And I think you're going to see across the board higher food prices.
Food prices are already up dramatically this year, last year a little bit too. And we might see more empty shelves in America. Even the president is promising food shortages in his conversation. So there's no need for this to be happening. The people are the ones that are going to be hurt. Not just farmers, trying to make a living. It's going to be the food supply of this country, which is a staple of our security of our nation, being able to grow the grain and the crops that we do, that not only supplies us, but our allies and other trading partners around the world.
Yep. I hope that people have been paying attention, man. I really hope that people are paying attention, Grey, because you've heard me say this 1,000 times, that it's going to be a resource problem. The financial system has so much to do with food. It has to do with resources. Think about it. That's what money is. It's a tool that you use to get resources. And what I think is going to fail first before any other thing fails that's major, unless we have like an EMP or a coronal mass ejection or something like that, ladies and gentlemen, that nature brings about. But I think that the first man-made failure in our system will be the financial system. Well, if the financial system is a way by which we get resources by trading supposedly value for value, how are you going to get that food? Because I guarantee you one thing, that farmer that was talking on that video, he's not going to give away his crop. He's not going to give it away. He doesn't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be out there by 4 a.m. so that he can give away what he's worked for. He's going to want value in exchange for the value that he's giving with that crop. So our financial system goes, how are we going to get the resources that we need? Not only those that we grow here, but those that are imported. If our financial system goes, ladies and gentlemen, and it's already going internationally, there are many countries that are now doing bilateral trading, bypassing the use of the US dollar or the Federal Reserve note. There's many countries. I believe it was China that just conducted its very first oil trade in yuan, in digital yuan. Countries do not fear the United States of America anymore, unfortunately. There was a time where all we had to do was snap our fingers and says, wait a minute, what? You say you're going to go ahead and sell your oil in euros, Mr. Hussein? I don't think that's going to work, okay? because I think I see some weapons of mass destruction right there that's behind your desk. All right. What was that, Mr. Gaddafi? You want to start selling oil in gold liras? Maybe there's something that we need to do. And her name starts with an H, and she took care of that problem in a hurry. So, ladies and gentlemen, countries no longer fear the United States of America, is what I'm trying to say. And eventually we're going to be a result of our own creation. We created this system, and this system is going to go ahead and take us down. And that's going to happen. That's the thing. People don't understand this. It's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you do on a personal level. It doesn't matter what I do. The only thing that matters for us as far as what we do on a personal level is will we be able to make it to the other side whole instead of barely being able to make it. And that's why I prepare. Not only do I prepare to give my family and maintain my family's standard of living that we're used to now, i.e. being able to take a shower whenever you want, having soap, having food to eat, etc., but also that when we get through this next major crisis that will occur between now and I would say 2031, 2032, right? In between that time, I know it seems like a long time, but it's really not. So that we can make it to the other side. And instead of just making it, that we'll be thriving on the other side so that we can do what, in my opinion, God wants us to do. And that's to help our neighbors.
Thank you, Linda, for that. Yeah, it does help. The little thumbs up help, folks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know where you're, as you're talking about that, I know exactly where you pulled some of that information from. That's a great book, man. The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. You turned me onto that book. That was an eye opener. That was an eye opener. What our U.S. government has done to preserve its position in the global scale of things. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, that was pretty scary.
You know what? I attribute that book. I attribute Alaska Prepper to that book because
did you really?
Yeah, I do, because that's really the book that woke me up. That book, I read that book mid-tour. All right, I was in Afghanistan. My buddy gave it to me when I was getting on a C-17 to go from Afghanistan. I think it was Bagram. I think it was Bagram that we were in, the airport
Bagram
there.
Air Force Base, yeah.
Yeah. So he gave me that book and said, hey, here you go, man. So you can read it on your way home. And I read it and it woke me up. I was like, I cannot believe this. I mean, I couldn't believe the things that we've done to other countries just for money and for status, And one of the passages on that book that I remember is when he's standing on a bridge. I think it was in Panama. He's standing on a bridge that in Panama, a country which they pretty much robbed, right? And he's looking at a lady with her child down in on the lake or the river that bridge was over. And it was a really nasty river. And he's looking at that lady and she looks at him and they make eye contact. And she was just trying to survive. She was scavenging, trying to survive. And he thinks to himself, what have we done to this country? You read that book, it's going to wake you up to how governments work, to how governments get power and retain power. And then by reading that book, I got woken up enough where I started reading other books and started looking at other things. And one day I listened to Alex Jones on the radio. And that's it. I was hooked.
Gotta love Alex Jones. Man.
Oh goodness,
Alex Jones. I came across his content years and years and years ago.
Years and years ago.
Yeah, Prison Planet, I think it was, and stuff like that.
He's still alive. He's still alive on the internet. And he still has a whole bunch of viewers and stuff. I think he's on Rumble.
I think Rumble is probably where he's at. That's where a lot of folks go. I saw someone ask me, it scrolled through me, then I lost it. Something that they were like, what are your guys' thoughts on the ammo situation and how it's starting to become harder to find again and whatnot? And the way I look at it is the more things that are happening across the globe, that of course it's going to start pulling from our own stockpiles here in the United States. We're shipping for my guy who does sustainment in the Army, who just got back from, I think he was in Kuwait and a couple other places. He says, we're pumping out so much ammo to Ukraine and now into Israel, as well as other conflicts that some people may not be aware of. He says, like I said, he went to his, his CEO and was like, hey, this is creating an issue. And his CEO just said, hey, don't mind your business, do what you're supposed to do, and that's about it. And he was like, all right. So that's from my perspective, what's possibly part of having it, but also the raw materials are probably becoming less and less as we move through this year.
Well, I mean, Grey, in all honesty, I think that the only thing that will save this nation are the patriots that are prepared, because we have a lot of ammo. And when I say we, I mean people in the United States, private citizens. We have a lot of ammo. So I'm not really that worried about ammo as a whole, because we have enough of it to where if it was properly redistributed amongst patriots, we have enough to protect our country from any foreign invader. And some, I think ahead of what is someone going to ask or say to what I just said. How in the world are we going to redistribute that ammo, AP? You don't know who's got it or not. Grey, do you remember the hundreds and hundreds of generals and admirals and field commission officers that the Obama administration fired while he was in presidency?
Yes,
Ladies
sir.
and gentlemen, this is how it works. This is how it works. Do you think that all of those generals and admirals that were made to retire, do you think that they're gone? All of their experience is erased. They know nothing about warfare. They know nothing. They're gone. Ladies and gentlemen, if we ever have to go into some kind of an interaction within the United States of America, some kind of like a civil war or some kind of a revolution because we are threatened by a tyrannical government, let's say, just making this up. We have a lot of experience out there on people that are actually patriots. I was doing the number a while back. This is probably a few years ago, so my numbers are probably off. But I think I remember reading somewhere that in the U.S. there's about 20 or so million veterans, right? So what does that mean to me that in the U.S. there's about 20 or so million veterans? What it means to me is that 20 or so million people were taught how to pull a trigger, how to aim a rifle, and how to service that rifle. That's what it means to me. Well, what else can we add to that? Well, out of that 20 million or so, let's say about 8 million or so are disabled to where they just cannot operate. That still means that there's 12 million people out there that can pull a trigger. Well, let's say out of that 12 million, 2 to 3 million or so have gone to the dark side, right? So there's about 9 million. 9 million people is an awful lot of people that are patriots, more than likely are armed, and know how to service their arms and know how to actually redistribute things because you're taught that in the military. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't be alarmed as far as us being invaded by another nation. The only people that would get in our way of having a decisive victory, in my opinion, would be our own government. If we ever got invaded, I don't think we will ever see the day where another nation tries to invade the United States of America. It's just like Abraham Lincoln said, unfortunately, is coming to be true, is that we will never be invaded or taken over by another nation. They will never set foot on our soil, but that our fall will come from within. We will end up being our own demise. So, there's no getting around it. You have to get prepared and stay prepared. And remember that slow and steady wins the race. But as far as ammo, I don't know what to say to someone that may say, hey, I don't have that much ammo and it's getting expensive. Like, hey, for how many years now has ammo been cheap? Remember a few years back where we had the ammo crisis and a 500 box of 22 was selling for 120 bucks or something. And you're like, oh my goodness. Well, ammo got cheap again and people didn't take advantage of it. It should be part of your payday prep. Every so often, get an ammo. Do some dollar cost averaging with ammo, just like you do with silver and gold.
Yeah, make the right friends. That's what I always say. Make the right connections for stuff like that. And, to give credit to what you're saying in regards to the population, it's just, I always tell people, remember, how we won this country. It was very little people in regards to the population that, we won our independence from.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Thomas, I think it's Ty Thomas says, wrong. Watch out for China and Russia. Prophets have said this for years that the U.S. will, in fact, be invaded. It will happen. The thing is that the U.S. has already been invaded. How many Chinese and Russians and Iranians do you think are within our borders? I believe we've already been invaded. But my point is this, is that we will not be defeated, right? We will get hurt. We will suffer. And like I've said several times, we will have a lot of suffering before things get better. All right. And unfortunately, it takes hard times to make strong men. Right. But you've all heard that it also takes weak men to make hard times. So now we're going into that hard times thing, and there's going to be a lot of suffering. I'm pretty certain that there's already sleeper cells all over the United States of all of these countries that just hate the United States for whatever reason. Right, they're here. But we, the American people, the people that love this country, especially those that love freedom, we won't lose in the end. In the end, we, in my opinion, humble opinion, are the good, and they are the evil, and we will win in the end.
I can add to that. You know, I spend a lot of time on YouTube when I have free time at work, and I watched. There's a couple of channels. Maybe one of these days I'll share, if I can find them. I'll share them in the community tab or something. And they're like, you know, all prior service. So there's some generals. There's some, you know, people that have been in that know that stuff, strategists. And they said if it was America versus the entire world, literally the entire world, our military versus their military, they said we would still win. And they said we would have massive losses, but we would still win.
Wow,
and the way the way they war gamed it was actually pretty interesting. When you see it all play out, it makes sense. I know, just for me saying it, or maybe Rudy saying it, or anybody, you know, specifically saying it without having the, you know, the facts up in front of you and looking at them. But the way that they war gamed that out, man, and they did several different scenarios, was quite impressive, and the information and the research that went into that. But it's like Rudy said, we would suffer severe losses. It'd be lots and lots of death. No, it would be decades from recovery and stuff like that if it was us against the world.
Yeah.
And I always feel, and this is just my personal opinion, that, you know, we will basically, we are our own demise. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that's not like us, the people, our government, and what it does to the people by making us, dividing us, and all the division that's out there, our economy. There's so many different little pieces of the puzzle that play from within that's going to create this issue. And like you said, with the southern border, so many people are just constantly coming over. And this is just not recently, just over the last 50 years. Just think about how many people are just kind of in the United States, just kind of, you know, keeping a low profile because they've popped up on the news here and there, you know what I mean? And it's just getting a lot worse. So eventually there will be something. Our water supply may be susceptible. Our grid may be susceptible. Just all those little different things. And, you know, of course, our government's going to be like, well, oh, you know, domestic terrorism, that's what it was. But we all know the true facts. Sure. It's the plan. That's the plan. You know what I mean? As they say, the Great Reset, you know?
But well, the thing is, Grey, is that I you know, I could be wrong, and I hope that I'm not wrong. I hope that I hope that for some part that I'm right, but it's still a bad situation either way. I don't think that, you know, these sleeper cells that are in the U.S., and I say it confidently because there has to be. I mean, all of these other countries that consider themselves our foes, they're idiots. If there are no sleeper cells in the U.S., then they're idiots for not taking advantage of the southern border, right?
I would agree, for
all
sure.
Of these sleeper cells that are in the U.S., maybe some of them will do crazy stuff, like, you know, take a firearm and go and do bad things with it, you know, like in crowded areas. But I think that what they would do instead would be something that's more effective. Like you say, that they would target the food supply, the water supply, the electricity grid, the internet, that they would target something like that, because that's called a force multiplier. When you can take out one thing that will affect a lot of people instead of just taking out a couple of people, then you're multiplying your force, you know, by a whole bunch. So I think that more than likely that's what they will do, is to take out infrastructure that we really need. And what's this right here?
That was the protest last week in D.C., the pro-Palestinian protests. I mean,
yes, I mean, this is a great way to divide us even further. I mean, think about it. Think about how this is dividing us even further, you know? And I can't say I know everything about what's going on in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. But when I look at this, I'm just thinking about how this is dividing us even further than what we already are. We are playing right into what they want us to play into, Grey. I mean, they are actually doing a great job as far as keeping us divided. They're doing such a good job. But, you know, we human beings, we're an emotional creature, you know, and a lot of us, unfortunately, we go by emotions first. instead of trying to be a little more logical and think about what's going on first before we just go on a on a tirade thinking, oh my goodness, this or that. It's always got to be one or the other. It can't ever be something where we come together. It's always got to be one or the other. And I mean, we can sit here literally. I mean, we would get your channel kicked off of YouTube, Grey, but we can sit here literally and, like, for example, we can toss a coin and say, okay, whatever it lands on, you're going to argue for that side, right? And we can literally, I am very certain of it, that I can argue both sides. I can sit here and give you an argument, a good argument on both sides. And I'm sure you can do the same thing. So isn't that just awesome? What they've done? They've actually managed to do something that there's no possible way that we do not stay divided on this. So yeah, we are divided as a nation.
It's and a lot of folks, I see some people ask, that's Washington D.C. folks. Washington D.C. That's our nation's capital.
I thought it was a Trump rally. before I saw the flags.
That was DC, man. And they God, there's a lot. I could show so much more footage, but some of it's not appropriate for YouTube. It's more for a Rumble kind of show, you know what I mean? Before we get too far along, because we only got a few minutes left, I did want to talk about one thing. This kind of goes back to preparedness, because a lot of you folks, I'm in Florida. So when it comes to snow and cold and freezing and, being without power during those situations, it's not so much of an issue for me, even though I have lots of redundancies here for even heat. Some people think I'm crazy, but you have heaters in Florida, propane heaters, electric heaters, these kind of, I'm like, yeah, you just never know. But I did want to share this and bring it up for you folks to check out. There we go. Watchdog has grim winter warning.
Oh, yeah.
There may be blackouts this winter. 2/3 of the United States.
I did a video on this the other day, Grey. I did a video on this. They're looking for about 180 million Americans and a few Canadians that are for sure going to be losing power this winter. And I mean, look, the very first thing that you ought to have in your house, every home in the United States of America ought to have two things. Every home. The first thing, and this is my opinion, but I think it's well grounded, is to have a reverse osmosis water filtration system, or a water filtration system that you trust will provide you with potable water that won't kill you. That's the first thing. The second thing, ladies and gentlemen, is a generator, a gas generator. You can see all of these solar generators in the background, and I love them, all right? But a gas generator will not let you down when the sun will, all right? So if you count on having power in order to stay alive, have a gasoline generator first and foremost. Is it a good idea, in my opinion, to also have a solar generator after you have a gas generator? Absolutely, because they very greatly complement each other, right? It actually saves you gasoline if you ever have to go without sun and you need to power your house or those essentials for a long time. I did a video on this a few months back, I think, where using my gasoline generator, I was able to power my solar generator. So I was kind of like mimicking like not having any sun, right? And I wanted to see how far my gasoline would go using a gas generator and a solar generator. Well, using a gasoline generator to power my solar generator and then just running the essentials in my house with the solar generator. But AP, why would you do that? Very simple. Because when you're running a gasoline generator all the time, you're using that gas all the time, even though you don't need all that power, right? When you power up a solar generator, you're only using that power when you need to. For example, whenever your refrigerator is turning on its compressor, you're using power. But whenever it's not using any power at all, and that generator, gas generator, is still running, you're losing that gas. It's just going into the air, not being used. So it came out to be that it took me about between a half a gallon to 3/4 of a gallon of gasoline a day in order to power my solar generator to then power my home for a whole month. So for five 5-gallon cans of gasoline, I was able to power my house for an entire month as far as the critical components that I needed to power my house to maintain the standard of living that my family is used to. So always have a gas generator first. Just a second. What is this? I'll be right back. My phone's going
Do what you need to do, brother. Here's what I like about YouTube. and other platforms like it, right? Because there's a lot of negative things, you know, we get censored and all that fun stuff like that. But some of the things that we're talking about and that I asked Rudy about to talk about on the channel or when I'm over on his channel. And so you folks, if you guys aren't familiar with this, what we're doing here is that this week he's on my channel. Next week we're on his channel. We bounce every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At the end, when I play the end credits or whatnot, you guys will I'll throw that out there as well again. And real quick, I just want to do a shameless plug for myself. Next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you want to win a solar generator, as well as a bunch of other stuff, I'm having this major pre-Christmas giveaway. It's a Black Friday kind of thing, but it's going into Christmas because I want to make sure anything that anybody wins gets it before Christmas. But the reason I like this platform is because here's the big issue. The news and your politicians, 99% of them, unfortunately, are going to lie to you. They're going to lie to you. That's why I want to throw this little quote up there. So we're just Americans and voicing our opinion on a platform where we have currently the option to do so, and talking about certain things. So a lot of people will focus on the news or the politicians or whatnot, but as you can see here, it says journalists and politicians have become ensnared in a symbiotic web of lies that mislead the public. So be cautious, and not even just listening to us, but just in general, anything that you see, read, take it a step further, folks, and go further with it. Learn, get more informed on specific topics and issues that you might arise that you are curious about. Because unfortunately, you can't trust the news and you can't trust the politicians anymore these days.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, you have to be adults. You have to be willing to listen, and be willing to listen to things that maybe are not popular to yourself, but then go and do the research. Go do your own research. And the fact of the matter is this, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you take someone's word for anything, it doesn't matter who it is and it doesn't matter what it is. It's you that's going to pay the price if it's wrong, and it's you that's going to gain if it's right. So when you do your own research, it is you that's going to be responsible for the outcome. And if you just allow the outcome be something because someone said so and you didn't do any research, then that's on you. It's still going to be you and your family. So feel comfortable with what it is that you're doing for whatever reason, because you yourself said, yep, I seen it. I did the research. This is what I'm going to do. And then hopefully there'll be a good outcome from that. But if you just take anyone's word, it's like I tell you, I tell you, whenever I tell you to take a look at my links, right? Like for whatever product it is, I'm like, don't just take a look at the one that I'm showing you. So like the Opus solar generators, I think I talked about it in today's video. I said, don't just take a look at that, compare it to other ones. If they're having a great deal, that's great, but compare it to other ones. That way you're sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck and that you're happy with that purchase. Not just because I said I really like it, but go ahead and compare it to other ones as well. Do your own research, ladies and gentlemen, especially when it comes to spending your money and to prepping, because in order to prepare, you have to spend money. For the most part, you do. There are skills and things like that that you have to learn or that you can learn, but it usually takes some money to prepare one way or another. It's not different. And not even myself.
Yeah, I saw that, man. I was looking at something and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so I put that banner there. Folks, if you happen to forget, next Monday we're on Rudy's live stream. I'll do some shameless plugs over there because it'll be the following night. We'll be on Rudy's channel next week. And I will make sure I'll plug it then as well. And it'll be the following day. So I'll be really busy next week with multiple live streams coming out in regards to that. And I think, where are we at on time? Oh, we're at 59 minutes, brother, my friend.
I mean, we can take it a little longer if you need to. I know that we're supposed to keep it to about an hour or so, right? But this always happens. You know what that means, though, Grey, is that we're having a good time.
Agreed.
That's what it
Agreed.
means.
Agreed. I saw that Tom Larson at Mountain House, but it's I looked on Amazon. You got to go directly through Mountain House to get that deal.
Hey, I did.
Yeah.
I actually talked about it on my I forgot what day it was, but I talked about it. I think it was Friday's video or Sunday, whatever. But I was like, heck yeah, go get some of that Mountain House 50% off. for the meat. Now, if you're not going to get the meat products, go get Nutrient Survival, because in my opinion, any freeze-dried food company out there, any freeze-dried food company that you get besides Nutrient Survival, you're getting what I like to call dead calories. Yeah, you're getting the macros, you're getting the carbs, you're getting the fat, you're getting the protein, you're getting that. But are you getting the nutrition that you really need? So I say go to Nutrient Survival for that. But for meat, meat is not something that Nutrient Survival sells. So Mountain House, in my opinion, has the market on the meat. And to get it at 50% off, yeah, I put that up on one of my videos. So I hope that people took advantage of it. I went and bought me a case of, I think, diced beef.
Yeah, you can't beat.
I don't know where the
price.
heck I'm going to put it, Gray. I don't know. Maybe I'll build a shelf up here and put it up
anywhere
above my head.
Anywhere you can put it. And Yarn, thank you for that. Let me know in regards to the commercial thing. I'm just gonna mute.
Crazy, isn't it, Gray?
Yeah, I'm just gonna mute the
Incredible.
commercials through the live streams now on, and I'll just hope that you guys watch commercials afterwards. Drop a comment and hit that thumbs up button for the support instead of running these commercials. I thought I did the right thing and just put a commercial. I think it was like one commercial every 30 minutes. So I figured max 2 commercials throughout the entire
so greedy, man.
I know. I mean, what am I doing? I'm just here for the money, man. Jeez, I might as well quit while I'm ahead. But yeah, that is ridiculous. 8 commercials. That's just. I don't know what YouTube's doing. Maybe it's the holiday season. I don't know. And that being said, I'm going to apologize to everybody this week. I have a lot of gear and Black Friday promos coming out this week. If you don't mind just taking a look at them, watching them, you don't have to buy anything. It'll just help the channel out. But it's just that time of season, folks. Black Friday, the holidays, a lot of the people
love this time of season, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's the, well, I'm just saying all it is, it's the, they're going to help the channel out with all the giveaways. So might as well just go ahead and watch the video. You know what I mean? To help them out.
I mean, that's what it's about too. Let me see. A Shore Skeptic asks, "Hey, P, do you know Alaska Granny?" I do not. I do not know Alaska Granny. But let me go ahead and touch on that. Ladies and gentlemen, the sponsors that sponsor our channels and give stuff away and all that kind of stuff, they do that because people actually buy stuff from them that we review. If not, they wouldn't do it. So, I run across this a lot. People are like, why are you doing review videos and stuff? You've already done a review video for solar generators. That's enough. But I like doing different review videos for different things. Why? Because you don't find something of value in that doesn't mean that somebody else will. And a lot of times I get people email me and say, "Hey, thanks a lot for reviewing this," or they leave a comment. "Thank you very much. I really appreciate these reviews." So, it's just a nice perk for us as well, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice perk. I just got a box full of flashlights. I just showed it to Gray. I was like, man, this company, I love this company. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm going to have a video coming out soon on that. But I love this flashlight company, right? And they sent me an email and they were like, "Hey, do you want to review our product?" I'm like, "Heck yes, man. I love your company. I love your flashlights. I've actually bought like 5 or 6 of their flashlights in the past." And this is a way that we can put it out there. And I actually shown them to you before. But if they're going to send me some stuff and then also possibly give some of it away to all of you, it's a win-win. It's a win-win for everyone. So yeah, that you support your channel creators by supporting those people that support them as well.
It's funny you mentioned. I'm not going to say too much about this real fast. Hey, G Matt, good to see you. I have something in the works with Nutrient Survival that's going to launch in December, folks, and it's going to be quite fun. But awesome. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. I'm just excited about it because, folks, Rudy's right. I mean, if you've seen my pantry haul videos, you've seen the wall of Nutrient Survival that I have. And that's not Nutrient Survival that's given to me. That's Nutrient Survival that I've paid for out of my own money.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I wish, huh?
I appreciate that, doggone it. I appreciate
Look at this. Mr. Tom is in the house.
Where's Mr. Tom?
Oh, there he is. Mr. Tom comes out of hiding.
But again, thank you, doggone it.
Hey, Michael 517 has a really good question. You want to pop it up there, Gray?
Let me see if I can find it.
Let me just say it.
There it is. Oops.
Yeah. How long will a can of freeze-dried last after it's open? Oh, so I was thinking about freeze-dried coffee, but you're talking about freeze-dried food. So normally everything I've read and what I've done, I actually have a can that I'm doing a little test. I opened a can of the powdered eggs from Nutrient Survival about a year ago. I've used about half of it, and I left the other half covered just with that plastic cap that they send, right? Or lid that they send with it. And so far, it's still good. So here soon, I'm about to do a review of another can of Nutrient Survival that I've left out in the elements for the last 2 years, through the cold, through the heat, through the cold, through the heat. I'm gonna do a review of that and see how it's done outside in the elements, and then I'll go ahead and also touch on that can of eggs that's been sitting there for almost a year now, open, and and it's still sitting there. So I would say very comfortably 6 months. If you open a can of anything that's freeze dried, very comfortably, I would say 6 months. However, if you know that you're going to keep it that long after you've opened it, make sure that you have it in a place that's not very humid, because every time that you open it, you're going to have a whole bunch of fresh, humid air going in there. So you don't want to be in a humid place. And if it's meat product, I would just put it in the refrigerator. Even if it's freeze dried, I would put it in the refrigerator. It'll last a lot longer. But you can give that a try.
What is that? No GreyMan. Rudy's gonna buy a room that shows up for sure. Yeah, right. Wouldn't that be nice? And Pantry Mama, yeah, a lot of folks will reseal it. I've seen people do that before.
Sure.
So
Nothing wrong with that.
Freeze dried food. I did a video myself on canned meat versus freeze dried meat and the pros and cons of both. When we get a lot of new folks in our channel, sometimes people forget that we've been doing YouTube for several years and there's a lot of content on the channel. I always employ, or is it employ? Is that the proper word? Not employ. Yeah, my wife says I get that word wrong. No. Implore people. Is it implore?
Oh, implore people. Okay, implore people. Yeah.
To go check out like the playlists, the other videos that I've done. Like I've done videos on how to store rice and flour and this and this and that. And there's probably tons of videos on Rudy's channel of all different types of long-term food storage and things that work for us, that don't work for us. Being that Rudy's in Alaska and I'm in Florida, we got two different types of environments. You know what I mean? I deal with more humidity than probably Rudy does, heat versus cold. So it's like, just get yourself educated and informed as best as possible in regards to some of these topics. But if you're here now, you can always support our channels by, watching some of the older videos that have kind of gone dry at this point sometimes, All right. So I think we've covered pretty much the main topics. There's a couple little things that we can always talk about, stuff about EV and gas and stuff like that. We can always go around that at a different time.
Yeah, we can talk. Hey, Grey, one day we ought to have a marathon one day and just sit here and just talk like we talk sometimes and be like 3.5 hours later.
Maybe people would tune into that. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? Would you guys ever
maybe we could do like 2 or 3 hours on one channel and then switch to the next channel?
That's actually a great idea. Like we'll have to come up with it. But if you guys want to see something like that, and you guys love to hear me and Rudy just kind of chit chat, and Rudy will do most of the talking, which I truly enjoy because my voice gets it's just after an hour I'm done. So that's why I gotta have this big cup of water next to me. But we'll run it, man, and see what. Just put that down in the comments. If you guys have any questions that you guys need, like let's say you try to ask a question and we missed it this time or go around, put a question underneath this video in the comment section. And I will save those comments for the next one. And I'll, either for me, just put, hey, I wanted to ask Rudy a question, or hey, I wanted to ask you, Grey, a question, and we'll answer them on the next live stream. If you guys want to start doing that, some questions or other things, throw them down in the comments and we can kind of go through those and try to answer them the best as the best of our ability. See, it's getting late, folks.
Yep. Here.
Anything you want to add? Anything you got going on this week?
No, just the regular stuff. This Friday, no live stream this Friday. So the deal is this, ladies and gentlemen, we were going to be going on a trip last weekend and it had to get canceled, unfortunately. So I will not have a live stream on the Alaska Prepper channel this Friday. All right. Anyways, I'll keep you filled in over there. Other than that, thank you very much for joining in. This is an awful lot of fun for me. So I hope that you're all enjoying this, and I hope that we can keep doing this for a really long time, and that it can morph into something bigger than what it is, But do appreciate you all showing up. on these Mondays. I think it's a great start to the week. Gray, what do you think?
I honestly do too, and I join them as well. And it's you, the viewers, make this call. You guys, if you guys want to keep us on the air every Monday night at 7 p.m., man, it's up to you to tune in, to watch. Yeah.
Hey, Gray, back me up on this, okay? And ladies and gentlemen, support your YouTubers. Support us by watching our videos, all right? And letting an ad or two run through. Because let me tell you what, the reason I say this because, Gray, how much work is it for you to set up your Christmas giveaway that you're doing? It's a lot of work.
It's probably, I got at least over 2 weeks involved into communicating with the sponsors and doing the things and setting up and, you know, all the logistics part of it. Whenever I do like outdoor videos, that's usually a day or two. Garden videos are a little easier, anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. Review videos, 8 to 10 hours.
But I mean, what it comes down to is this. We obviously do this because we really enjoy it. I love doing this. I love getting in front of the camera and talking stuff that I was going to talk about anyways. And, you know, having a community like you all that's like-minded, that comes and joins in on a video here and there, even having a troll here and there once in a while, you know, and people bitch me out about this or that. You know, it's all part of it, but I really enjoy doing this. I really do. It kind of like gives my life a little bit of purpose. You know, on this side, you know, obviously I've got my family and that's the most important thing. But you know what I mean? Once you retire, you're like, for me at least, you know, I'm retired from the workforce. And for those of you that are retired out there, I know there's a few. Once you retire, you're like, what am I going to do now? You know, I'm not just going to put puzzles together all day. And I'm very blessed that I get to come in here into the bunker and do something that I really enjoy doing and do it with you all. You know, but then again, it takes a lot of work to do this stuff. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't watched Gray, did you watch the video of the turkeys?
Yes.
I'll tell you what, ladies, if you haven't watched that video, it's such an awesome thing that happened this year. And it just tells me that God is definitely in charge. All right. Because for a year where in the beginning, I didn't think we were going to make the turkeys. Not only did we make the turkeys, but it's like we went above and beyond. All right. And it's like on that video, I was talking about like so many little things had to happen, Gray. So many little things had to come together that if one of those things wouldn't have happened, then we wouldn't have even come close to making the turkeys this year. So, you know, there's definitely a God, and he definitely gives you what it is that you need in order to make it happen. It doesn't just appear in front of you. He gives you what you need in order to make it happen. So anyways, having said that, yeah, it's a lot of work, and we don't necessarily do it for the views. We do it because we love what we're doing, but it's very nice to know that there are people out there that appreciate, you know, that we take the time to do this kind of stuff. So, you know, appreciate and take care of the people that, you know, really hold you to very high esteem, as we always have.
Right. My wife made a joke. Well, I made a joke to my wife the other day. I said, my garden video only gets so many views. And Tiffar, welcome to the Grey family. Thank you for the support. My wife says, or I said, you know, I wish my garden videos would do as well as my prepper pantry videos. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I do a garden video and get, you know, 3,000 to 5,000 views. If I do a pantry haul, man, I'm killing it. There's all kinds of views. But I feel that gardening and some of the other topics that I discuss are just as important as stockpiling food. And I wish folks would understand how important it is. But I get it. YouTube is confused. Are you a gardening channel? Are you a review channel? Are you a prepper channel? What are you? So it gets confused. So I understand how the back end works, but I enjoy doing everything I do on here, regardless if it appeals to everyone or not. It's just something that I enjoy doing. And being that I got to do this, I've gotten to help a lot of people out along the way. So feels good.
That's what it's about, man. That's what it's about in the end. Can't take it with you.
Agreed. Daryl Calhoun, gardening. Yes, I love gardening. And so all you gardeners out there, you know, I've only been gardening going on 2.5, 3 years, and I've learned so much, folks. And I've learned from you guys, and people have learned from me. I love reading those comments like, hey, Gray, you've taught me this, you taught me that in the gardening aspect, or this and that. I love those comments. Those are like some of my favorite comments. They make my day whenever I can help someone out with something that I've done. Or you guys, you know, I said, you guys always have some great tips as well. What'd you see in there?
Andrew says Rudy just likes to talk. I would hate to have to talk to him on the phone.
You just gotta you just interject. That's all you have to do. But Rudy's very knowledgeable and he's very passionate about some of these topics that we talk about. So of course I know how to prod Rudy just enough to get him going. You know what I mean? So I kind of like that match and just let it catch on fire.
Oh yeah, I know you do, Grey.
Yeah, you're on Prepper. I've been doing canning, not on camera. It's getting better. I just want to be very proficient a little bit before I start doing it on because I know that the canner snobs out there are going to be like, you didn't wash your hands. You didn't clean that lid. You didn't put that rack in there right. You didn't wait that long enough. You didn't put a towel down so it doesn't crack. Because I've done some videos where people just tear me a new one of those. And I'm like, well, man, it's a journey, folks. It's a journey. You're just kind of watching me learn from my mistakes. You know what I mean? Don't eat me alive, but but I'm going to get a little bit better and make sure I got all my, dots and I's and T's and all that stuff crossed. And I'll end up doing some canning videos here soon enough. But yeah, that's it. That's it, man. That's it for me tonight.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us during the apocalypse. All right. That's what ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that joined in not too long ago, this show is about the apocalypse. And this is why. Because, Grey, what is it that we do? We go over the news, right? So
anything that's in the headlines.
Yeah, the news going over the headlines. So the apocalypse is the revealing. So what we're doing here is revealing what's going on in the world as we see it, from the headlines. And hopefully we will reveal enough to you to entertain you, number one, but number two, help you understand that you need to continue to prepare if you are preparing, and help you understand that you need to start preparing should you not be preparing yet. So
agreed.
Thank you very much for joining us on the apocalypse, ladies and gentlemen. Grey, anything else? Well, this is your channel, so you sign off.
I'll sign off us. Folks, remember, you are not alone. This is GreyMan and Rudy here, AP. Thank you for watching. God bless every one of you guys. Have a blessed evening, and we'll catch you guys on the rebound on Rudy's channel next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
See you next week. God bless.